Hey, everybody. I'm Commissioner Tim Eccles. I'm at the Capitol. You're here for Energy Matters Live just for a little while today to kick off our week. My co-host is always KC Boyce. KC, how's it going?
I'm good, and I'm here in Decatur this morning.
Yeah, your solar cooking pretty good over there on your house with the sun?
It's a little cloudy out today, so I'm definitely getting some solar, but it's not as much as if it was a bluebird day. But, you take what
Yeah.
you can get.
Well, much to my ego's bruising, every year people ask me, what is the PSC?
It's a fair question.
Yeah. When I got elected, I said, I'm going to raise the stature of the PSC. And I don't know that I've done that, even though I have gone up and down the state doing educational events galore. I don't know that I've been able to raise the stature of the commission, and too bad, because there's a lot of things that people can do to lower their power bill. I mean, that's kind of the mantra of our show, helping people save money on their power bill, helping them use technology and live a more sustainable life, right? I mean, what's a guy to do?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think outside of local elected officials, the Public Service Commission probably has the most impact on folks' day-to-day lives, right? I mean, it's, their telecom provider, it's their power bill, it's their gas bill, it's all of this stuff that really impacts folks. And, what the legislature does is important, right? I don't mean to minimize that, but what they do tends to be a little bit more removed from people's day to day.
Yeah, let's start off. I get a lot of negative feedback from people wanting help. I don't understand this. Why is the fee this? Can you lower our rates? But occasionally, Casey, I get a very nice voicemail. And I saved this one on my phone. I want to play this. So here we go. Oh, you're not hearing that. So hold on.
Nope.
Let's try it again. Okay. Speaker, here we go.
Hello, Commissioner. I know I've done this before, sorry, but I feel like it's very important that I occasionally let you know that I really appreciate the job that you do and your commitment to solar energy and electric vehicles. It really makes me happy, and the idea of our wonderful state having more and more solar just, it really excites me, and I really love the job you're doing. And since most of the time I kind of annoy the politicians, I think that, when one of you does something I like, I should let you know. Anyway, thank you. Have a great day.
Well, Casey, that's a nice voicemail, and it's wonderful to hear from someone that really appreciates and acknowledges the policy decisions that I've made or that we've made at the commission to move things forward. In this case, electric vehicles and solar, and that is something that for 10 years I've been working on this. And Casey, I talked to my colleagues around the state, around the country, and not all of them are in a position to move things forward. I guess because some of them are appointed, and when you're appointed by the governor, maybe you are doing things that line up with the governor's policy position. I mean, you've worked with a lot of commissions from around the country. Is Georgia's PSC different than the PUC in California, or the Virginia Corporation Commission in another state?
Yeah, so yes is the short answer. I mean, I think to your point, and for our listeners to understand, not every public utility commission is elected. So, some, as you said, Tim, are appointed by governors of the state. And I think it's just a very few handful of states that have elected commissioners, right? You may know the number off the top of your head.
Yeah, so I think 11.
11, yeah.
Georgia, South Carolina is elected by the legislature. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas has two commissions, a railroad commission and a PUC that's appointed, actually. and you get over Utah, Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, but not a lot.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at the commissions, a lot of them have very different philosophies, right, in terms of how they actually regulate the utilities. You've got Texas, which has its own unique situation, which is very much about creating a kind of a free market and a lot of consumer choice, and they're pretty open about that in terms of how they regulate. And there have been pluses and minuses to that. We've seen a minus recently. California is quite a bit more heavy-handed. They tend to be more top-down and say, utilities, you're going to do what we tell you to do. Then you have other commissions that are kind of somewhere in between. I think one of the challenges that many observers see with the industry is utility commissions that are kind of perceived to do the bidding of the utilities that they regulate. So this idea of regulatory capture, Tim, I'm sure that you've run into that before. Kind of how do you and your colleagues think about that in your work, since you are elected, right? You're accountable to the people.
Yeah, I think my colleagues really enjoy the freedom that comes from having 10 million bosses, right? So knowing that, hey, I need to be responsive to folks. And I think this is what causes me to hit the trail so often, right? So we just featured on Energy Matters, a segment from Jekyll Island as we talked with the conservation manager and the sales director. It's a state-owned asset, and I was down there meeting with them, meeting with the Bryan County Board of Education, doing the welcome to the GBI that was down there, meeting with the city of Statesboro. I mean, all of those opportunities to get out there and interact with people and try to find problems to solve, right? Mm-hmm. I'm interested in solving problems. And if people aren't aware that the Public Service Commission exists, they don't know to call me. My phone, I'm sitting here in my office now, my phone is not ringing off the hook today. So folks aren't calling. So I have to kind of get out there and present myself as a problem solver. And then people say, oh, okay, you can help me with that. And they tell me about it, and I try to solve their problem.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, a lot of people look at politicians and look to them for leadership. And I've actually been thinking a lot about this with coronavirus and, this kind of view towards leadership. And that for some people, the assumption is leadership means government regulation or government, mandate or whatever. And I think it's actually quite a bit more nuanced than that. And a lot of your work actually, kind of explains that nuance, right? I mean, you're a huge advocate, as the caller said, for solar, a huge advocate for EVs. Some of the things that you do at the commission directly impact our state's ability to invest in those technologies, EV charging and solar. But a lot of what you do is just connecting people with each other and just being a voice out there for these things that are good for the state of Georgia, right?
Yeah. So in a way, I'm kind of an ambassador, right? So
right,
because I am a constitutional officer, meaning that the state constitution calls for my job, and the governor can't just willy-nilly say, oh, we don't need the commission anymore, or change that with any kind of executive order. Because I'm a constitutional officer, I do wind up getting some of those ambassador type responsibilities, right? So, if there's, maybe I'm the 13th highest ranking person in the state. So if numbers 1 through 12 are busy, right, and they're not available to do the welcome at an event, sometimes I'm just doing the welcome. I'm doing more ceremonial things. Mm-hmm. But even when you're doing ceremonial things, KC, people wind up saying, hey, I've got a problem. Can I talk to you about it? And yeah, I mean, I was talking to the city of Statesboro. They're wanting to do electric buses, right? So I was at Jekyll Island, and I was speaking at their mayor and council retreat, and they're wanting to have some electric shuttles that go from Georgia Southern, around on kind of a circulator route, and they were needing me to connect them to someone that makes an electric shuttle. Well, we happen to know someone that does that in California, so we made that connection. So sometimes, in doing these ambassador type jobs, you wind up helping people solve a problem. But then, Casey, there's the typical things that really are just the bread and butter of what we do, which is our administrative session on the first and third Tuesday of every month at 9:30, where we are actually making decisions about dockets that have been before us, right? So explain to our viewers and our listeners about, these dockets that appear before these regulatory agencies in 50 states plus territories.
So a public service commissioner is asking me to explain dockets. Okay, all right. Well, I'll give it my best, and you can tell me where I go wrong here. So, public service commissions or public utilities commissions are kind of judicial in nature, right? So people file cases before them. So it could be a rate case. So that's how how much you pay for energy gets decided. It could be an integrated resource plan, something we've talked about on the show before, which is how the energy gets generated. It could also be other minor matters, right? And so these they kind of go through a process where you have people that file documents in support of, sometimes against, to help the commissioners make a sound decision in the public interest. And this is something that every commission across the country does, right? And this is all public, right? I mean, you guys stream your sessions on Zoom, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just down below on the first floor, Casey, we have what looks like a courtroom, right? And in that courtroom, you've got an appellant and an appellee table. You've got the witness booth. You've got the 5 judges, the commissioners up there. You've got a stand for people that speak. And so as we do these dockets that you've just explained, there are various parties. There's the utility that always has, basically not just an opinion, but a position and something they're putting forward. And then you've got nonprofits, like the Sierra Club or Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, who are, quote, intervening because they are representing their own constituency, right, in their own position, and they want to be able to explain that and get it on the record. Everything is on the record. This is not just a town hall, right? This is our staff and everyone else going on the record with a stenographer, in a permanent file, that is much like a court docket. If when you see a court case on television or whatever. And so as a result of that, we are very deliberative. We are sitting there, we're listening, and most of these dockets takes months, sometimes half a year before we get through everything. And then after everyone has their say, the commissioners make the decision.
Well, good. Well, coming up on our next segment here, we're going to bring back someone that listeners have heard a couple of weeks ago, Austin Gaffney, who is a journalist who's done quite a bit of work over the past few years on coal ash in the Southeast. And we're going to be talking about her research into some of the coal ash spills that have occurred, fortunately not in Georgia, but in other neighboring states, and what we've learned from those, and what other states like Georgia can do going forward to help protect folks. So if you're listening to the radio show, stick around, and you'll hear my interview with Austin coming up. For folks that are viewing here right now, I think Tim and I'll have a little bit of an additional conversation before we sign off.
Yeah, that's right. Casey, this coal ash issue is huge. And, whenever you're making decisions about any kind of energy generation, I mean, it's great to count the cost. And I mean, that goes for solar and batteries too, Casey. And I don't know that on anything other than nuclear energy, we are actually counting the cost. With nuclear energy, we have a decommissioning fund for all of our plants. And these, there is money in the bank to decommission our 2 nuclear plants. But everything else, that we've done is kind of done on the fly. It's done not, in an integrated resource plan where we make the decision about how we're going to bring a plant to its end of life and what it's going to cost. And coal ash solar panels, batteries, all of those things. I wish we could set aside the funds in advance for that, but sometimes you don't know what it's going to cost in the future, and it's hard to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that that's something that you guys are doing with the nuclear plants. And certainly, at least from my standpoint, I'm supportive of doing that for other sources of energy. I mean, I think part of what gets us into trouble as a society is the fact that we don't think about full costs of whatever it is that we're doing. And so those things become externalities, whether that's, kind of the downwind pollution from, a power plant or industrial site, or whether it's the decommissioning, tens, 20 years in advance that, your grandkids, right? You're a grandfather, your grandkids would have to pick that up, right? If you and your colleagues aren't thinking about this. So it is worthwhile thinking through, even if there are some unknowns as to, what the dollar amounts end up being.
Yeah. And I know that we're talking about it, and that's the beginning, right? And, having interveners, like I mentioned, who come in during IRPs and say, hey, commissioners, have you thought about this? I mean, these comments people make are valuable. I mean, they do. I've been swayed by, things people have said. I've gone and done more research, and I mean, it's really good to have the transparent process and have a lot of folks involved. Well, Casey, Kennesaw State is doing a program today called Equinox, and folks can just go to the ksu.edu website and you can participate. I'm about to speak there, so we're going to sign off here on our Energy Matters Live, and I'm going to hop over there and talk about really the evolution of green energy in Georgia. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and catch our radio show on WGAUradio.com or anywhere you get your podcast. Just search for Energy Matters with Commissioner Eccles, and you can listen anywhere you get your podcast. All right, great.
All right,
Casey,
have a great day, everyone.
Thanks a lot. See you.
Bye-bye.